Once you get out of the swim, small little uphill to transition, and then you're into the transition area. You're going to grab your helmet, probably your sunglasses, make sure that your water bottles are still on your bike. If you're wearing bike shoes as opposed to run shoes, you're going to either have them already on the bike or you're going to put those on right in transition. Grab your bike and then head on to the course. Once you get on your bike, hopefully you left it from the morning warm-up in a really easy gear. That way you can easily start spinning the legs, get them used to being on a bike as opposed to in the water. You're going to go up a tiny little hill, and then the next 2.5 miles is downhill. Okay? Now this is the same downhill as the half and the Olympic. So like I talked about in those videos, the road can be a little bit bumpy. There can be frost heaves, cracks, things like that. And it is very steep for the first 2.5 miles. So just be aware of that, be careful. If you're riding a triathlon bike, if you're in the aero position, having your arms on the aero bars, or if you have clip-on aero bars on your road bike, just be very aware of where the bumps are and things like that. And because you don't have brakes on those, I would say it's probably a good idea to be in the hoods, where the bullhorns are of your bike, or on the outsides, so that you can use those brakes while you're descending. Because like I said, it is a very steep and a little bit bumpy of a descent. We want to make sure that everyone is safe. So unless you've ridden it before or driven it a couple times and you're very technical of a rider, I would recommend that you don't stay in the aero position as you descend, because it can be a little bit treacherous. Okay? Once you get to the bottom of that 2.5 mile hill, you're going to take a sharp right turn. Now again, I recommend that you drive the course or at least have ridden it a couple times beforehand. That way you can see what this turn looks like, because you're going to be coming in hot down the road, right? And then you've got to take a sharp turn. So you might need to go wider depending on how fast you're going. You don't want to cross over the yellow line and then go into traffic that's coming at you. Ideally, that's not going to happen. So make sure you slow down enough to be able to take the turn safely. You're going to want to check the day before to see how much dirt runoff there is, because if it rains, there could be a little bit of dirt on the side there, or any kind of gravel, potholes, things like that. So just make sure you know what that turn looks like ahead of time, and if you don't get the opportunity to do that, it's okay. Just be a little bit more cautious, go a little bit slower as you're entering the turn. Now from that 2.5 mile turn, you're then going to be going up until the end of the 7.2 mile loop. You're going to be taking another right turn onto Route 3, and then you're going to be going up that until you hit the bike path, at which point you're still going to be climbing, but you're just not going to be on a main road, so it'll be a closed bike path, which is kind of nice, and you can de-stress a little bit if you're worried about the cars passing you. That way you're on a nice, safe course. You're going to climb up that bike path all the way up and over the highway. There's an overpass, and then you'll go down back into transition area. There won't be any bike aid stations out on the course because it's a 7.25 mile loop. There will be aid at the transition area. So ideally during your swim or before your swim, you'll have taken a little bit of nutrition, maybe one gel or a goo or something like that. Do your swim, and then you'll have a bottle and maybe a gel or something taped to your bike. Again, we can talk about that more specifically in the transition video. And that way you don't need any kind of aid while you're on your bike, because it's the 7.25 miles. When you get back to the transition area, should you feel like you need to get a little bit more energy or a little bit more sustenance, feel free to stop at that transition area aid station before heading out onto the run, because you will have another 1.2 miles until you get to your next aid station on the run course.